My armor is like tenfold shields, my teeth are swords, my claws spears, the shock of my tail a thunderbolt, my wings are a hurricane, and my breath, death. The dragon is one of the most powerful creatures in D&D there is, and little can withstand their presence or quench their desire. In combat, however, a dragon is cunning, pragmatic, and devastating. Here I will lay the tactics of a dragon in 5th edition D&D mechanics, so that you may best utilize its magnificent form and leave the fear of dragons forever in the heart of your players. First and foremost, a dragon has a domain and a region, and within these confines it controls a great deal of information, both through magical means and kowtowing minions. A dragon knows what a wizard is and what a cleric does. It knows the brutality of a barbarian and the precision of a ranger. Bands of adventurers catch the eye of all who see and hear their exploits, and dragons will use this information to devise ways to best take down any threats to its dominion. A dragon can easily face a group in the open. Away from cover and the tree line, a dragon can fly overhead behind a cloud or in the glare of the sun. Then, when opportunity strikes, its immediate plan is simple and effective: divide and conquer. For this detailed mechanical example, I'll be using an adult red dragon. The most important elements of a dragon in 5th edition is its legendary action, which can be taken at the end of any other creature's turn. So at the end of the next creature that acts after the dragon is the soonest that it could use its legendary action. Let's look at these abilities in detail. Detection is excellent for finding hidden creatures, because normally a creature has to give up its main action to do such a thing. This decreases the chance a dragon might be ambushed by a sneaky rogue. Its tail attack has a 15-foot reach and deals about 17 damage per hit. This is great for striking creatures out of reach, while also maintaining a degree of separation from them, preventing opportunity attacks when it retreats. A dragon should usually focus on its tail attacks to be careful, moving around creatures, minimizing contact with melee combatants so as to reduce damage and prevent more devastating melee abilities from triggering. Wing attacks are extremely important for punishing attempts made to surround the dragon, as well as the devastating separation of player characters from one another. All characters struck by this ability must make a save or be knocked prone, and this attack can be devastating if they are unable to stand up in time. Prone creatures also have their movement halved, which easily allows the dragon to attack and then move out of range of their melee abilities, forcing them to use their action to dash towards the dragon and greatly reduce their damage output. Because this ability requires 2 uses of its 3 legendary actions, you should make sure you use it tactfully. Considering these legendary actions, it's important to tactfully choose what the dragon will do for its main action on its turn, and using the dodge action while relying on its legendary actions to attack creatures is a useful way of carefully observing the tactics of players while waiting for your dragon's breath weapon to return. Let's have a look at its other 3 abilities. Frightful Presence could be anything between a bellowing roar or a shocking revelation from a hiding place. Regardless, every creature of the dragon's choice within 120 feet could become a mindless panic creature that can't move closer to the dragon. This can be used to force characters to remain divided far apart from each other, preventing the use of a timely Cure Wounds or Bark Skin from ever being delivered. Remember that this ability triggers as a free action and can be used in conjunction with its normal attacks, and the dragon may bide its time before using it at the worst possible moment for players' plans. Legendary Resistance allows you to automatically succeed on a saving throw. This should be saved for effects that would terribly disable the dragon, like Polymorph, Hold Monster, or Stunning Strike. But remember that you can roll to save, and if you fail the save, You can then invoke the legendary resistance. Once the dragon runs out of its legendary resistances, it is very wise to flee from the player characters and attack them the next day. Its Fire Breath is a devastating elemental attack that functions as the largest damage-dealing ability a dragon can unleash in a single round. This can be used as a ranged attack and should be used to psychologically pressure the players into not staying too close together, as it is most effective against group targets. It is also worth remembering that a dragon does not need to be in melee, but rather it could be flying 60 feet above the ground, spewing out a gout of fire in a 60-foot radius, functioning like an oversized fireball. As you have to roll to recover the breath weapon, it may be prudent to stall and avoid players' attacks by taking the dodge action until you recover your breath weapon. By mastering these prior 6 abilities, you will be a very effective dragon that will last a lot longer in combat. But there are more general elements of combat I'll revise with you. Dragons are aware of spells and will target those concentrating on them as soon as possible. Remember to punish players who attempt to concentrate on spell effects by targeting them with damage so they have to roll for concentration. A dragon knows how devastating magic is and will not tolerate being overmastered by a bookworm in robes. Some dragons may use more ruthless tactics, such as grabbing a target and then flying 200 feet into the sky, then spiking them into the ground. When they take 20d6 falling damage, their allies will try to get to them and provide aid, which makes them a suitable target for a flyby tactical fire breathing. Grappling in 5th edition is a contested check where the attacker rolls an athletics or strength check, and the defender rolls an athletic strength or an acrobatics dexterity check in opposition. If the attacker wins, they grapple the opponent until they can escape. And for a dragon, this means that they can freely move about with a medium-sized creature in their claws. They can also substitute any of their attacks with a grapple, allowing an adult red dragon to attempt to grapple 3 times. Remember that when a creature is frightened, it has disadvantage on these checks, and when they are prone, the dragon has advantage, which synchronizes well with their frightful presence and wing attack. Remember that grappling is a great way to split the party and an excellent way to make use of local terrain. Why not fly over your local quicksand pit, lava pit, or acid lake and drop the player character in there? Remember the dragon is a master of its domain. Show the players how well it knows its own territory. The dragon can employ all these tactics and then retreat, keeping an eye on the party. Then, when the player characters attempt to rest, the dragon is at once upon them, not letting them recover. At this point, the dragon may open the table to bargaining. Player characters might beg for their life and throw themselves at the mercy of the dragon, which is not so much appreciated as it is expected of them. More evil dragons will simply crush and destroy their targets, but a more benevolent, or manipulative, dragon may grasp hold of a character, usually after bringing them to 0 hit points, stabilizing them, and then using them as living bargaining chips to their allied companions. Dragons are also aware of resurrection, and thus may scorch a corpse to nothing, or consume it, not as a nutritional requirement, but as an act of superiority in the food chain. A dragon may also keep a corpse much like a living victim for resurrection bargaining, although if they despise the character, they may end up destroying the body to ensure no resurrection may occur. A dragon's only weakness is its immense size and its ties to its material hoard. These 2 points, however, are understood by the dragon itself, so it goes to great lengths to protect itself from these shortcomings. If a dragon is confronted in their lair, they will employ different tactics that often depend on their natural abilities. A dragon will rarely flee from its lair, not willing to abandon its treasure hoard to such puny creatures. Most of the time, a dragon will fight to the bitter end. Here are some more devious tactics a dragon might have waiting in its lair. A fire dragon may have set up barrels of oil or gunpowder to act as hazards for intruders. Ice and lightning-breathing dragons may have rooms of ankle-high water, an innocent room with dire consequences, as player characters are frozen stuck to the floor or have disadvantage on saves against lightning. Aquatic dragons will skulk in murky waters and pull player characters one by one down for an unfair fight. Burrowers are terrifying, grabbing player characters from under the floor and then pulling them 30 feet below. Then they can return to the surface and explain that they have 2 minutes to discuss their surrender terms before their friend suffocates. Acidic and poisonous dragons may have a constant hazardous environment, a noxious mist of toxin that fills their domain, which of course they are immune to. A dragon will usually have minions of various power levels, kobolds being the least of these. Still, they employ crafty traps and hit-and-run tactics. Evil dragons may abide the presence of undead which haunt their lairs, while noble dragons may have knights and celestials that immediately come to its aid with righteous indignation. It is not uncommon for a dragon to keep a pet wizard or cleric who acts as both secretary and assistant to the dragon. Dragons may have other dragon contacts, although dragons loathe to share domains, let alone lairs. However, it is not uncommon for dragons to keep tabs on each other through sending spells or specific meetings. Dragon councils are rare but do occur, and it is said that the use of a dragon's true name is one of the few places that it is uttered. Dragons usually avoid involving themselves in another dragon's business, but if they know the dragon might be slain, you can guess who would be most interested in inheriting the treasure hoard. Some dragons may have contingencies against death, usually in the form of loyal dragon cultists who will tirelessly seek to resurrect their fallen dragon lord. Are you still finding it difficult to challenge your players with this vanilla dragon? Perhaps you should add one or more of the following suggestions. Swallowing creatures. I have no idea why this ability was excluded from the dragons. It's iconic among many dragons throughout history.
If your teeth come down, my sword goes up.
Regardless, you simply take the bite attack from the Kraken stat block, and maybe change some of the damage types. For example, for this adult red dragon, I would have the creature take 5d6 acid and 5d6 fire damage at the start of each of the dragon's turns. If the creature can deal at least 40 damage from within the dragon must make a DC 25 Constitution save or vomit the creature onto the ground prone. Spellcasting. Most dragons have had access to spellcasting throughout D&D history, and it is a terrible oversight that they lack such a things in 5th edition. However, in the Dungeon Master's Guide, there are some rules regarding applying spellcasting to our flying lizard friends, but I would simply give the dragon access to the sorcerer spellcasting list with the same spells per day equal to their challenge rating, so with an adult red dragon it would have the same spellcasting as a 17th level sorcerer. Their spell list should reflect their elemental nature, but also the personality of the dragon. This adult red dragon will no doubt have Fireball and Wall of Fire, but perhaps it also has Dominate Person or Hold Monster and uses them to assert its dominance on creatures lesser than its commanding form. Magic opens up some extremely deadly tactics. For example, the adult red dragon is immune to fire, so what would stop it from boxing the player characters in with a wall of fire and then pushing or holding them inside the inferno just to hear them scream? Maybe if it is surrounded, it will simply drop a fireball onto its position, burning everything that stood in its way. Magic items are also something within the dragon's abilities to use. They don't sit on their treasure hoard for no reason. Before combat, a dragon might drink a potion of mirror image or blur, perhaps using a scroll to cast Shield of Faith or Divine Favor on itself. It may also attune to items, following the 3 attunement magic rule. Simple items are a Ring of Protection, a Headband of Intellect, and an Ion Stone of Awareness. But more advanced items might be something along the lines of a Staff of the Magi, a Mantle of Spell Resistance, and a Ring of Regeneration. Remember that these abilities do expand the dragon's potential, and thus should be treated as a higher challenge rating creature. But don't forget that the players can use their own abilities against the dragon, What if the players steal or disarm the dragon of their magic items? The dragon has to give up its attacks to cast a spell, so what a waste it would be if they were to be counterspelled. Maybe swallowing a hasted, protected from acid barbarian that's raging is a bad idea. Armed with this knowledge, few players will be able to stand up against your might. But remember that a dragon isn't just combat and totally killing the party. Be sure to balance out your draconic military prowess with interesting personalities, otherworldly plots, and goals that drive the players forward with the promise of fame and treasure.